The inheritance papers sat before me like a ticking bomb, Aunt Rosalind's manicured nail tapping impatiently on the mahogany desk. The grandfather clock in her study struck midnight, its chimes echoing through the hollow mansion that had become my prison since my parents' accident 3 months ago. "Brinley, darling, it's a simple formality," Rosalind cooed, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness. "Just sign here, and we can put all this nasty business behind us. I'm Brinley, and at 24, I never imagined I'd be sitting here, being pressured to sign away my parents' legacy at midnight. The timing wasn't coincidental. Nothing about Aunt Rosalind ever was. "It's late," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "Can't this wait until morning? When Talon can review—" "Talon?" Rosalind's perfectly plucked eyebrows arched. "That old friend of your father's?" "Darling, he's not family. We are. And family takes care of its own." The way she emphasized "takes care" sent chills down my spine. Through the study's window, lightning illuminated the gardens where Mom used to tend her roses. Now they were withering, just like everything else she'd loved. "I just don't understand the rush," I pressed, fighting to keep my voice steady. "Dad always said important decisions shouldn't be made after dark." Rosalind's smile tightened. "Your father, God rest his soul, isn't here anymore. I am, and I'm trying to protect you, to protect all of us." A knock at the door made us both jump. Valeria, my cousin, poked her head in. "Mom, the caterers called about tomorrow's gala." "Not now," Rosalind snapped, then immediately softened. "Sorry, sweetie. Mummy's handling important business with Brinley." Valeria's eyes met mine, a flash of concern crossing her features before she retreated. We'd grown up together, but lately, something felt off about our relationship. Maybe it was the way Rosalind kept parading her around at social events, showing off her successful daughter while I was relegated to the shadows. "Look," Rosalind said, pulling out another document. "I've already arranged everything. The house will be sold, and the proceeds will be managed through my investment firm. You'll receive a monthly allowance." "Allowance?" I stood up so quickly my chair scraped against the hardwood floor. "I'm not a child, Aunt Rosalind. This is my inheritance, which you clearly aren't ready to manage." Her mask slipped for a moment, revealing something ugly underneath. "You're emotional, vulnerable, just like your mother always was." The mention of Mom sparked something in me. I remembered her last words to me. "Trust your instincts, Butterfly. They'll never lead you wrong." "I need time," I said firmly, gathering my courage. "And I want Talent to review these papers." Rosalind's face darkened. "You ungrateful little—" She caught herself, smoothing her designer blouse. "Fine, take them. But remember who's been housing you, feeding you, protecting you from the vultures who'd take advantage of a naive girl like yourself." I grabbed the papers and hurried out, my heart pounding. In the hallway, Valeria was waiting. "Bryn, are you okay?" she whispered, glancing nervously at the study door. "I'm fine," I lied, clutching the documents to my chest. "Just tired." "Mom's been acting strange lately," Valeria confided. "Ever since, you know, the accident." The accident. The rainy night when my parents' car went off the bridge. The night that brought me here, under Rosalind's protective wing. "Yeah," I managed. "Strange." Back in my room, I spread the papers across my bed. Legal jargon swam before my eyes, but certain phrases jumped out. Transfer of assets, relinquishment of rights, immediate effect. My phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "Don't sign anything. Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., Carter's Cafe. Talon." I deleted the message immediately, remembering Dad's warnings about being careful with sensitive information. Somewhere in this mansion, in this web of manipulation and deceit, there had to be answers. And I was going to find them. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the family photo on my nightstand, Mom, Dad, and me at the beach last summer. Their smiles seemed to hold secrets now, warnings I'd been too blind to see. "I won't let you down," I whispered to their frozen faces. "I promise." A distant roll of thunder answered, and somewhere in the mansion, I heard Rosalind's heels clicking on hardwood, plotting her next move. But for the first time since my parents' death, I felt something other than grief. I felt ready to fight back. Carter's Cafe buzzed with morning activity as I slipped into a corner booth, my hands wrapped around a steaming latte. The familiar scent of coffee and pastries transported me back to Sunday mornings with Dad, poring over legal briefs while he explained the intricacies of contract law. "Your father always said you had a sharp mind for details." A deep voice startled me from my memories. Talon stood there, his silver hair and kind eyes exactly as I remembered from my childhood. "It's been a while," I said, gesturing for him to sit. He placed his briefcase on the table, glancing around before speaking. "I came as soon as I heard about Rosalind's midnight paperwork party. You didn't sign anything, did you?" "No, but she's persistent." Talon pulled out a folder, his expression grim. "Your father knew something like this might happen. That's why he made me promise to watch over you if anything happened to him and Iris." My throat tightened at the mention of my parents. "What do you mean, knew this might happen?" 3 weeks before the accident, your father came to my office. He was worried about discrepancies he'd found in Rosalind's investment firm's records. Clients' money vanishing, properties being transferred under suspicious circumstances. The waitress approached and we fell silent until she left with our orders. "Dad never mentioned any of this," I said, leaning forward. "He was building a case." Quietly. Talon opened the folder, sliding several documents across the table. "These are copies of what he found. Bank statements, property deeds, client complaints that mysteriously disappeared." My hands trembled as I examined the papers. "Some of these properties, they're listed in the documents Rosalind wanted me to sign." "Exactly. She's trying to cover her tracks, using your inheritance as a smokescreen." Talon's voice hardened. "Your father was close to exposing everything when they had their accident," I finished, my coffee turning bitter in my mouth. The implications hit me like a physical blow. "Are you suggesting—" Talon held up his hand. "I'm not suggesting anything. But the timing is concerning." A familiar click of heels made us both freeze. Through the cafe's window, I spotted Valeria walking past, phone pressed to her ear. "We need to be careful," Talon warned, quickly gathering the documents. "Rosalind has eyes everywhere." "What about Valeria?" I asked. "She seems different from her mother." "Trust no one completely right now, but keep watching. Sometimes allies come from unexpected places." He handed me a small USB drive. "Everything's here. Copies of your father's findings, plus what I've gathered since. Keep it safe." "What do I do now?" "Act normal. Let Rosalind think she's winning. There's a family reunion next week, right?" I nodded. "Perfect. Keep your eyes open, but don't let on what you know. And Brinley?" His expression softened. "Your parents would be proud of you." Standing up to Rosalind took courage. As Talon left, I sat there, memories flooding back. Dad in his study, teaching me to read between the lines of contracts. Mom always saying, "The truth has a way of rising to the surface like cream in coffee." My phone buzzed. A text from Rosalind. "Dinner tonight, 7 p.m. sharp. We need to discuss your future." Another message followed. "Wear something nice. The Winters are joining us. Their son's been asking about you. Classic Rosalind, already plotting her next move. Trying to marry me off to some rich family's son, probably to strengthen her social connections." I grabbed my purse, the USB drive feeling like a burning coal inside. As I stepped out into the morning sun, a memory surfaced, Dad's voice clear as day. "Remember, Butterfly, in the legal world, timing is everything. Wait for the right moment, then strike. The right moment." I looked up at the towering building that housed Rosalind's investment firm, its glass windows gleaming like a fortress of secrets. Somewhere in there were answers about my parents' death, about the missing money, about everything. My phone buzzed again. "Valeria." "Can we talk? Alone? Something's not right with Mom." I stared at the message, remembering Talon's words about unexpected allies. After a moment, I replied, "Coffee tomorrow? Just us?" The response came instantly. "Yes, please." As I walked home, pieces started falling into place in my mind. The midnight papers, the missing money, the convenient accident. Rosalind had underestimated me, seeing only her dead sister's naive daughter. But I was also my father's daughter, and like him, I knew how to build a case. Game on, Aunt Rosalind. The annual family reunion transformed Rosalind's mansion into a buzzing hive of expensive perfumes and fake laughter. I stood in the corner of the grand ballroom, watching her work the crowd like a master conductor, Valeria trailing in her wake. And of course, we're so blessed to have Valeria following in my footsteps, Rosalind announced to a cluster of relatives. The youngest executive vice president in our firm's history. I sipped my champagne, noting how Valeria's smile didn't reach her eyes. Our coffee meeting yesterday had been enlightening, to say the least. "Did you know?" Aunt Margaret sidled up to me, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "About the Winters boy. I hear Rosalind's arranging—" "Brinley, darling," Rosalind's voice cut through the chatter. "Come here, sweetheart. Everyone's been asking about you." I plastered on my best smile and approached the group. Rosalind's arm snaked around my shoulders, her grip just tight enough to be threatening. "Poor dear," she cooed to the assembled relatives. "She's been so lost since Iris and James passed. Thank goodness she has family to lean on." "How generous of you to take her in," someone murmured. "Family first, always," Rosalind beamed. "In fact, we're finalizing some paperwork to ensure Brinley's future is secure. Aren't we, dear?" Before I could respond, Valeria spoke up. "Mum, can I talk to you? About the Morrison account?" "Not now, sweetie." "It's urgent," Valeria insisted, catching my eye briefly. "The numbers aren't adding up." Rosalind's perfectly maintained facade cracked for a split second. "Excuse us," she said, steering Valeria away. I followed discreetly, positioning myself behind a massive floral arrangement near Rosalind's study door, which stood slightly ajar. "What do you mean, numbers aren't adding up?" Rosalind's voice had lost all its sweetness. "The offshore accounts," Valeria said. "The ones you said were for tax purposes. There's millions missing. You've been poking around in confidential files. I'm VP now, remember? I have access to everything." A sharp slap echoed through the crack in the door. My hand flew to my mouth. "Listen carefully," Rosalind hissed. "You will not mention this again, to anyone, understood? Mom, what have you done?" "What I had to do, to give you the life you deserve. And now that naive little Brinley's inheritance will secure our position." "What about Brinley's inheritance?" Uncle Xerxes' voice joined the conversation. My heart raced. Valeria's father rarely involved himself in business matters. "Nothing, darling." Rosalind's voice switched back to syrupy sweet. "Just some routine paperwork. The kind that needs signing at midnight." Valeria's voice was stronger now. "The kind that transfers everything to your control." Silence fell. I held my breath. "Rosalind," Xerxes said slowly, "what exactly have you been doing with our firm's money?" "Our firm?" Rosalind laughed coldly. "I built this empire while you played golf and attended charity galas. Everything I've done has been for this family's future." "By stealing from your dead sister's daughter," Valeria's voice cracked. Another slap. Then footsteps approaching the door. I barely managed to duck behind a curtain as Valeria burst out, tears streaming down her face. She ran straight past me, up the grand staircase. The party continued in the ballroom, oblivious to the drama unfolding. I was about to follow Valeria when I heard Rosalind's next words through the door. "If either of you breathes a word of this, remember, I have enough dirt to bury this entire family. Now let's rejoin our guests. Xerxes, fix your tie. We have appearances to maintain." I slipped away just as they emerged, my mind racing. The USB drive from Talon felt heavy in my clutch, combined with what Valeria had discovered. "Hey!" Valeria's voice made me jump. She stood at the top of the stairs, her cheek red but her eyes clear. "We need to talk, really talk." I glanced back at the party, where Rosalind was already commanding attention again, telling some elaborate story that had everyone laughing. "Your room," I suggested. Valeria nodded. "Bring your phone. We're going to need proof of everything." As we climbed the stairs together, I caught Uncle Xerxes watching us, his expression unreadable. He gave me a slight nod before turning back to his guests. The pieces were falling into place faster now, but the picture they formed was uglier than I'd imagined. Rosalind hadn't just stolen my inheritance, she'd built her entire empire on lies and theft. "Ready?" Valeria asked as we reached her room. I thought of Mum and Dad, of justice, of truth. "Ready." The time for playing nice was over. "Look at this," Valeria said, spreading printouts across her bedroom floor. "Every major client account has mysterious withdrawals, all traced back to shell companies in the Cayman Islands." I pulled out my laptop, inserting Talon's USB drive. "Your mum's been doing this for years. Dad was investigating her before the accident." Valeria's voice was hollow. "God, Brinley, you don't think she—" A knock at the door made us both freeze. "Girls," Uncle Xerxes called softly. We exchanged glances before Valeria opened the door. Xerxes slipped in, locking it behind him. "I've been blind," he said, his usually confident demeanor shattered. "So blind, but I found something you both need to see." He pulled out his phone, showing us an email chain. "Rosalind's been communicating with someone named Marcus about handling the situation 3 days before your parents' accident, Brinley." My hands shook as I read the messages. "The bridge where they—" It wasn't their usual route home. "Mum told me they were coming to surprise me for my birthday," Valeria whispered. "She said she'd suggested that route because of construction on the main road." "There was no construction," Xerxes said grimly. "I checked." A text message lit up my phone. "Where are you? The Winters are asking for you. Come down now. Ah. She's trying to marry me off to secure another alliance," I explained to their questioning looks. "Classic Mom," Valeria scoffed. "She did the same thing to my last boyfriend when she discovered his family wasn't wealthy enough." "We need Talon," I decided, dialing his number. He answered on the first ring. "I've been expecting your call," he said. "I'm guessing you found more evidence." "More than we imagined. Can you meet us?" "My office, 1 hour. Bring everything." Xerxes stood up. "I'll create a distraction so you can slip out, but be careful. Your mother has eyes everywhere." "She's not my mother," Valeria said firmly. "Not anymore." We gathered the documents, storing digital copies in multiple secure locations. As we crept down the back stairs, we heard Xerxes' booming voice from the ballroom. "Ladies and gentlemen, a toast to my beautiful wife's success." The crowd cheered, giving us our opening. We were almost to the door when, going somewhere, Rosalind stood in the shadows, her eyes glittering dangerously. "Just getting some air," Valeria said smoothly. "The party's a bit overwhelming." "With all those documents?" Rosalind stepped closer. "Hand them over, now." "No." My voice was stronger than I felt. "Everything I've done has been for this family," Rosalind hissed. "You ungrateful little—" "Was killing my parents for the family too?" The words hung in the air like smoke. Rosalind's face went white. "You don't know what you're talking about," she whispered. "Marcus does," Valeria cut in. "Should we ask him about the bridge?" For the first time, I saw real fear in Rosalind's eyes. She lunged for the documents, but I was faster, shoving them into my bag and backing away. "You're making a mistake," she warned. "Both of you." "The only mistake was trusting you," I replied. Footsteps approached. The party guests were spilling into the hallway. Rosalind's mask slipped back into place as she turned to greet them. "Girls, there you are," she called out cheerfully. "Come, Mr. Winters was just asking about you, Brinley." We used the crowd's presence to slip away, rushing to my car. As we pulled out of the driveway, I saw Rosalind watching from the window, her phone pressed to her ear. "She's calling someone," Valeria said, checking her rearview mirror constantly. "We need to hurry." Traffic lights flew by as we raced to Talon's office. My phone buzzed repeatedly, messages from Rosalind, each more threatening than the last. "She's desperate," Valeria observed. She knows we have enough to destroy her. Look out! I shouted as a black SUV swerved toward us. Valeria jerked the wheel, barely avoiding collision. The SUV fell back, but stayed on our tail. Call Talon, I said, gripping my seat. Tell him we're being followed. Valeria made the call, while I watched the SUV weaving through traffic behind us. He says to go straight to the police station instead. He'll meet us there with a detective he trusts. I thought of the USB drive, the documents, the emails about Marcus, about Mum and Dad's accident that was no accident at all. Okay, I agreed. It's time everyone knows the truth about Rosalind. The SUV was still following as we changed course for the police station. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Xerxes. Be safe. I'm handling things here. Get justice. Justice. The word felt like a promise. The fluorescent lights of the police station buzzed overhead as Detective Rivera studied the evidence spread across her desk. Talon stood beside me, while Valeria paced nervously. This is extensive, Rivera said, examining the USB drive's contents on her computer. Financial fraud, embezzlement, and now possible involvement in a homicide. 2 homicides, I corrected. My parents. The detective's phone rang. Rivera. Her expression darkened. I see, keep me posted. She hung up, fixing us with a serious look. That SUV that followed you, found abandoned 3 blocks from here, registered to a Marcus Thompson. Marcus? Valeria stopped pacing. The same Marcus from the emails? Former police officer turned private investigator, Rivera explained, known for handling delicate matters for wealthy clients. My phone lit up, Xerxes calling. I put it on speaker. Rosalind's gone ballistic, he reported. She's in her study, shredding documents. I managed to photograph some before she started, sending them now. Forward them directly to me, Rivera instructed, rattling off her email. A commotion outside the office drew our attention. Through the glass walls, we saw Rosalind striding toward us, flanked by 2 men in expensive suits. Her lawyers, Talon muttered. Rivera stood. Let me handle this. Rosalind burst in, her perfect composure cracking at the edges. I demand to speak with my daughter and niece, alone. That's not happening, Rivera said firmly. Mrs. Fox, I'm Detective Rivera. We have some questions about your investment firm's activities. Whatever these confused children have told you. Mum, stop. Valeria's voice cut through the tension. I saw the accounts. I saw everything. You saw what you were meant to see, Rosalind snapped. Everything I did was legal. Was having Marcus tamper with my parents' car legal? I stepped forward, anger burning through my fear. Was stealing my inheritance legal? The lawyers exchanged worried glances. Mrs. Fox, one began, perhaps we should— Shut up. Rosalind's composure shattered completely. You ungrateful little brats. I gave you everything. Status, opportunities, a future. You gave us lies, Valeria shot back. You built your empire on fraud and murder. Murder? Rosalind laughed hysterically. Prove it. Prove any of it. Already done, Rivera interrupted, turning her computer screen. Mr. Thompson is being very cooperative. Seems he doesn't fancy taking the fall alone. The color drained from Rosalind's face. Marcus wouldn't. He already has, Rivera said. We picked him up 20 minutes ago. Want to hear his statement? One of the lawyers touched Rosalind's arm. Don't say another word. But Rosalind was unraveling. They were going to ruin everything, she shrieked, pointing at me. Your father and his self-righteous investigation. They had to be stopped. The room fell silent. Even the lawyers stepped back. Mrs. Fox, Rivera said quietly, you have the right to remain silent. You think this ends here? Rosalind's eyes were wild as officers approached with handcuffs. I still have friends, powerful friends. Not anymore, Xerxes appeared in the doorway. The board has voted. You're out, Rosalind. The SEC has been notified. You, she whispered. You betrayed me too. You betrayed yourself, he replied sadly. And our daughter, and Brinley, and this entire family. As the officers led Rosalind away, her threats echoing down the hallway. I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. Valeria collapsed into a chair, tears streaming down her face. "What happens now?" she asked nobody in particular. "Now," Talon said, placing a hand on my shoulder, "we start setting things right. The firm, the accounts, Brinley's inheritance, everything." Rivera nodded. "We'll need statements from all of you. This case will take time to untangle completely. I want to help." Valeria stood up, wiping her eyes. "I know where Mom hid everything, every account, every shell company." "I'll handle the legal reconstruction," Talon added, "just like your father would have wanted, Brinley." My phone buzzed one last time. A text from an unknown number. "You'll regret this. R." I deleted it without a second thought. "Detective," I said, "there's something else you should know about the night of my parents' accident." As I began to speak, I felt Mom and Dad's presence stronger than ever. Finally, after all this time, the truth was coming to light. Xerxes wrapped an arm around Valeria, who was still shaking. "We'll get through this," he promised. "As a real family this time." Outside the police station, dawn was breaking. A new day, a new beginning, and finally, justice was within reach. 2 weeks after Rosalind's arrest, the mansion buzzed with a different kind of energy. The annual shareholders' meeting had been transformed into a reckoning. "Everyone's here," Valeria reported, peeking through the study door. "Board members, major investors, even the press." I straightened my blazer, Mom's blazer, the one she wore to important meetings. "Ready?" "Born ready," she smiled grimly. "Dad's keeping them occupied with drinks. Talon's got the presentation set up." We walked into the grand hall together, heads held high. Faces turned toward us, some curious, some hostile, some afraid. These people had trusted Rosalind with their money, their futures. "Ladies and gentlemen," Talon's voice commanded attention from the podium. "Please welcome Brinley, rightful heir to the firm, and Valeria, our acting CEO." Whispers rippled through the crowd as we took our places. A screen lowered behind us, ready for the presentation that would change everything. "Before we begin," I said, my voice steady, "I want to thank you all for coming. What you're about to learn isn't easy, but you deserve the truth." The lights dimmed. The first slide appeared, a photograph of my parents. 3 months ago, my parents died in what appeared to be a tragic accident. Today, we know different. Gasps filled the room as Marcus Thompson's signed confession appeared on screen. "The truth is," Valeria continued, "this firm has been built on fraud, manipulation, and—" She took a deep breath. "Murder." The next hour passed in a blur of revelations. Bank statements, offshore accounts, email trails. With each new piece of evidence, the audience's shock grew. "My God," someone muttered. "Our retirement funds." "Every cent will be accounted for," I assured them. "We've already begun the process of recovering." The doors burst open. Rosalind, out on bail, strode in. Her designer outfit couldn't hide her desperation. "This is illegal," she shouted. "A hostile takeover by children." "Security," Xerxes called, but Rosalind was already at the podium. "You think you know everything," she sneered. "Tell them, Brinley. Tell them how your parents really died. Tell them about the brake lines." The room fell silent. I stepped forward, my heart pounding, but my voice clear. "Yes, let's talk about the brake lines, Aunt Rosalind. Let's talk about how Marcus Thompson sabotaged them on your orders. Let's talk about how you directed my parents to take that specific route home." "Lies," she screamed, but her eyes darted nervously. "We have the proof," Valeria said, clicking to the next slide. Security footage appeared, showing Rosalind meeting Marcus in a parking garage 3 days before the accident. "That proves nothing." Rosalind turned to the crowd. "Everything I did was for this company, for our future." "Mrs. Fox," a board member stood up, "are you confessing to embezzlement?" "I'm confessing to having vision," she spat, "to building something great while the rest of you—" "That's enough." Detective Rivera emerged from the back of the room. "Mrs. Fox, you're in violation of your bail conditions by being here." 2 officers approached, But Rosalind wasn't finished. "You ungrateful little witch," she hissed at me. "Your mother was just the same, self-righteous, thinking she was better than everyone else. She deserved what she got." The room erupted in chaos. As the officers led Rosalind away, her final scream echoed, "I built this. It's mine." "No," I said quietly, though she was already gone. "It was never yours." Talon took the podium. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain calm. We have a detailed recovery plan to present." The next hour was all business. Valeria outlined the restructuring. I explained the compensation process. Xerxes handled the legal questions. By the end, most of the shareholders were nodding in approval. "We can't undo what's been done," I concluded, "but we can move forward with honesty and integrity. The way my parents would have wanted." The applause was hesitant at first, then grew stronger. People approached with handshakes, condolences, support. "Your parents would be proud," an elderly board member said, squeezing my hand. "Both of you girls, taking on this mess, making it right." Later, as the crowd thinned, Valeria found me by the window. "Look what I found in Mum's desk," she said, holding out a photograph. Mum and Rosalind as teenagers, arms around each other, smiling. "What happened to her?" I wondered aloud. "Greed," Talon answered, joining us. "It corrupts everything it touches." "Not everything," Valeria said firmly. "Not us." Through the window, we watched Rosalind's car disappear into the night, police lights flashing behind it. "Ready for tomorrow?" Talon asked. "The trial won't be easy." I touched Mum's blazer, feeling stronger. "We're ready for anything." The truth was finally out. But this was just the beginning. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters as we made our way inside. Camera flashes exploded around us, voices calling out questions. "Miss Brinley, how does it feel facing your aunt in court?" "Valeria, any comment on your mother's mental state?" "Mr. Xerxes, will you testify against your wife?" Detective Rivera cleared a path through the chaos. Inside, the marble halls echoed with our footsteps as we approached courtroom 3. "Remember," Talon advised, adjusting his tie. "Stick to the facts. Don't let her provoke you." The courtroom doors opened, and there she was. Rosalind, in a conservative navy suit, her hair perfectly styled despite 3 weeks in custody. She turned, her eyes meeting mine with a snake-like smile. "All rise," the bailiff called as Judge Martinez entered. The prosecution's opening statement was devastating. Bank records, witness testimonies. Marcus Thompson's full confession played on screens throughout the courtroom. The defendant didn't just steal money, the prosecutor said. She stole lives, James and Iris's lives, their daughter's future, her own daughter's trust. Rosalind's lawyer tried to paint her as a misunderstood businesswoman, a loving aunt who only wanted to protect her family's interests. Then it was my turn to testify. "Please state your name for the record." "Brinley," I said clearly into the microphone. "Can you tell us about the night of December 12th? I described the midnight meeting, the pressure to sign away my inheritance." From the defendant's table, Rosalind shook her head sadly, playing the concerned aunt. "And when did you first suspect your aunt's involvement in your parents' death?" "Objection," Rosalind's lawyer stood. "Speculation." "Overruled," Judge Martinez said. "Continue." I pulled out Mom's old diary. When I found this, my mother had been documenting discrepancies in the firm's accounts. The last entry was the day before she died. Rosalind's facade cracked slightly. The prosecution presented the diary as evidence. "Your Honor, note the final entry. Meeting R tomorrow. She needs to explain the missing Miller funds." Next came Marcus Thompson. He looked smaller in his orange jumpsuit, defeated. "Mrs. Fox contacted me 3 days before the accident," he testified. "Said she needed a problem handled permanently." "And what did that mean to you?" "She wanted James and Iris eliminated, said they were threatening everything she'd built." Rosalind exploded. "Liar! You acted alone." "Mrs. Fox," Judge Martinez warned, "control yourself." But Rosalind was standing now, pointing at me. You think you've won? You're nothing, just like your mother, weak, pathetic. Counselor, control your client. Mum, stop. Valeria's voice cut through the chaos. She stood, tears streaming down her face. Just stop. The courtroom fell silent. Tell the truth, Valeria pleaded. For once in your life, just tell the truth. Something in Rosalind's expression changed. She looked at her daughter, then at me, then at the photograph of my parents displayed on the evidence screen. The truth? She laughed bitterly. The truth is, your precious Aunt Iris was going to ruin everything. She found the discrepancies, threatened to go public. I couldn't let that happen. Her lawyer tried to stop her, but Rosalind shoved him away. Yes, I called Marcus. Yes, I had the brakes tampered with. And yes, she turned to me, eyes blazing. I watched them drive away that night, knowing they'd never make it home, because nobody threatens what's mine. Nobody. The courtroom erupted. Judge Martinez banged his gavel repeatedly. Rosalind's lawyer looked ready to faint. Order! Order in the court! Through the chaos, Rosalind and I locked eyes. For the first time, I saw her clearly, not as my powerful, intimidating aunt, but as a desperate, broken woman who destroyed everything she claimed to love. Your Honor, the prosecutor stood, the state requests an immediate revocation of bail. Granted. Officers, take the defendant into custody. As they led Rosalind away, she called out one last time. I did it for you, Valeria. Everything was for you. Valeria turned away, burying her face in her father's shoulder. The judge called a recess, but we all knew it was over. Rosalind's confession had sealed her fate. Outside the courtroom, reporters swarmed again, but Detective Rivera and her team held them back. It's really over, I whispered. Talon squeezed my shoulder. Your parents got justice today. What happens now? Valeria asked, wiping her eyes. Now, I said, taking her hand, we rebuild. The right way. As we left the courthouse, the setting sun painted the sky in shades of orange and pink. Somewhere, I felt Mom and Dad watching, finally at peace. The truth had won. Justice had prevailed. But the cost had been devastating for us all. The morning sun streamed through Mom's rose garden, now restored to its former glory. I knelt beside the blooming flowers, pulling weeds and adjusting the soaker hose, just as she'd taught me. The board meeting starts in an hour, Valeria called from the patio. Ready for the big announcement? I stood, brushing dirt from my knees. As ready as I'll ever be. The drive to the office was quiet, both of us lost in thought. The newspaper on the dashboard carried yesterday's headline, Fox Investment CEO sentenced to life. Below it, a smaller headline, Victim's daughter and niece lead company reformation. The conference room was packed when we arrived. Talon stood at the front, reviewing documents with the Xerxes. The faces watching us were no longer hostile or afraid, just expectant. Good morning, I began, taking my place at the podium. Today marks a new chapter for our company. The audit is complete, the restitution payments have begun, and we're ready to move forward. Valeria joined me, carrying a stack of folders. We've prepared detailed reports on our restructuring plan, but first, we have an announcement. I pulled out the new company logo, a simple rose design. From today, we're no longer Fox Investments. We're Chapman and Fox Partners, honoring both sides of our family's legacy, the good parts. Murmurs of approval rippled through the room. Our first act, Valeria continued, is establishing the James and Iris Chapman Memorial Fund for Financial Ethics. Every year, we'll sponsor students pursuing careers in financial oversight and fraud prevention. The board members nodded appreciatively. One raised his hand. And the leadership structure? Co-CEOs, I answered. Valeria and I will lead together, with our board's oversight. No more single person holding all the power. And I'll be stepping down, Xerxes added. It's time for fresh perspectives. As we outlined the details, I noticed Detective Rivera slip into the back of the room. She gave me a subtle nod. After the meeting, she pulled us aside. Thought you should know, Marcus Thompson was found dead in his cell this morning. Apparent suicide. He left a full confession detailing everything. Everything? Valeria's voice shook. Everything, including all of Rosalind's other victims over the years. We're reopening several cases. The weight of it all hit me again. How many lives had been destroyed by greed and power? There's something else, Rivera continued. We found this in Marcus's belongings. Thought you should have it. She handed me a sealed envelope. Inside was a photograph, Mum and Dad at their wedding, young and happy. On the back, in Mum's handwriting, love always finds its way home. They'd be proud of you both, Talon said softly, taking something broken and making it right. Later that evening, Valeria and I sat in Mum's garden, sharing a bottle of wine. I visited her yesterday, Valeria said quietly. Mum, in prison. I waited, letting her continue. She wanted to know if we'd change the company name back to Fox someday. I told her no. She cried. First time I've ever seen her really cry. Are you okay? She smiled sadly. Getting there. It's strange. I'm grieving someone who's still alive. I understand that feeling. A car pulled up. Xerxes, returning from his last board meeting. He joined us in the garden, loosening his tie. The roses look beautiful, he observed, just like Iris used to grow them. I had good teachers, I said, touching a velvet petal. Both of them. To new beginnings, Valeria raised her glass. And to remembering, I added. And to doing better, Xerxes finished. As the sun set, I thought about Mom's words on the photograph. Love does find its way home, sometimes through unexpected paths, through pain and truth and justice. My phone buzzed, a message from Talon. Your father's old clients are returning. They trust the Chapman name again. I showed the message to Valeria. She squeezed my hand. We did it. No, I corrected her. We're doing it. Every day, every decision, every client we help, we're choosing a different path than she did. A cool breeze carried the scent of roses, and somewhere in the gathering dusk, I felt Mom and Dad's presence. Not as ghosts of the past, but as guides for the future. The garden lights came on automatically, illuminating the path ahead. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new decisions, new opportunities to prove that integrity could triumph over greed. But tonight, in this moment, surrounded by family, both lost and found, I was finally home.